All right, so Taberne Talks. We're at a different setup here this week. All right, this is like a last minute setup that I did. I didn't do it. I had no choice. But I don't really want to get into the whole gist of why I'm filming in the Movement Mortgage office today, but I am. Yeah, my blood pressure's down a little bit right now. It was up about an hour ago. But I feel better. I have a very special guest on, a guy that I've met a number of years ago, on a great team, back on a great team, Dan Kim, Keller Williams, Liberty Place, right?
Liberty Place, correct.
Right. So that's a name that I think not many people know.
No,
right?
It's pretty new.
It's new.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, give us your background, man. Like what, I know you were in Compass in the past, but you tell me.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Alex, good to see you.
Good to see you.
A little over 7 years now in total in the business. Got in early 2018.
Okay.
Started at Berkshire Hathaway, literally for like a 30-day stint.
Okay.
And very quickly I realized that wasn't a good fit for me culturally. Went to KW Philly. One of my best friend's uncles lives there or works there and is on Center City listings. We had lunch, brought me onto the team or brought me through to the office and, joined the team shortly thereafter. So
yeah, cool.
2 years there, 2 years at Compass where I joined Agent PHL, Ryan.
Yeah.
Did that for 2 years. Back at KW now Empower. And actually, most people don't know this. I had a short stint with Redfin as well.
Really?
Yeah. And that was a very short stint. Now at KW, Liberty Place.
Okay.
Back with Ryan, Agent PHL.
Okay.
And I think this is a good
Liberty
fit.
Place? Is that a smaller office or?
So it's actually a Jersey Shore brokerage, and
Okay.
Liberty Place is the Philadelphia extension of
Okay.
it. So
Okay.
our team is the only Philadelphia, I guess you could say, presence for that brokerage.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. If you guys don't know, Ryan McManus is who he was talking about when he said Ryan. I met Ryan back when the market was normal, right? I was telling Dan this before the show. The market was normal in 2018 and 19 and
Right.
17, and now we're in some craziness right now. But I met Ryan, I met Dan and a number of other guys on his team in Compass. Sharp team. They were building, they were hungry. That's the kind of stuff that you sold back in that market. And I think things have just changed, man. I mean, what's going on?
Yeah. Market is weird, to say the least.
Right.
When people ask me, it's like, is it a buyer's market, seller's market? I just flat out say it's a weird market.
Okay.
Typically you see that spring market activity really early on, right? I'd say even February, March. And it still feels a bit stagnant, right? I think a lot of people are still on the fence, not sure what to do, right? With all this uncertainty.
You think it's because of the tariffs and all that stuff that's driving people out, or what do you think's going on?
I think it's tariffs. I think it's,
affordability,
the
maybe
economy, affordability. Yeah, affordability is huge because I've got a buddy down in Charlotte, and he's a realtor down there, and prices are pretty high and they've skyrocketed down there. So he's telling me about his buddies that,
right.
They're pushing off buying a home and they're, I'm 32, they're older than me.
Right.
And we're talking first time home buyers.
Yeah.
And some that make really good money and are still pushing it off.
They don't want to do it.
It's crazy.
And that's because I think that the prices of the houses, the interest rates, right?
Yeah.
And then the whole world, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's
crazy.
No one knows what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
So I think that you do a lot of motivational videos.
I do. I've been picking it up. Yeah.
Right, man.
Yeah.
I've been seeing it. Right. It's good stuff. So, and a lot of them are the truth. Right. And one of them was about, this year, how slow it started.
Yeah.
And having the motivation to make it through this year, or having a bad quarter, which I think a lot of people did.
Yeah.
January, February, March, you've had your hitters that did what they did.
Yeah.
But from what I'm seeing, only the best of the best, or people that have maybe a strong book of business or things like that, are really still striving through this market. But most of the people you talked about are in a slow season, and how to motivate to get through that.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I think it's cliche, right? But it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Sure.
And I think, when you have a slow quarter or a slow season, it's so easy to just beat yourself up and be like, man, I feel like that was a waste.
Yeah, which
like,
I've been doing every day.
Yeah. And it's so easy to be hard on yourself. But, Brian Tracy, he says in this one old motivational video, he's like, everything counts. Everything counts. And what he means by that is like, the ups and the downs, right? The things that you don't think may be contributing to your progress and your upward trajectory in your life, whether it's personal or business, like all these things count. And I think, especially in real estate, if something isn't tied to, you making money, it's easy to be like, oh, that's a waste of time. Right. For example, open houses.
Right.
You could sit there for 2 hours and get nothing, right? Or one person comes by. But, at the same time, that can show you, well, what am I doing that isn't producing a productive open house, right?
Sure.
Or what could I be doing better with my time in this 2 hour span? Should I just bring a book?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Random things like that. But you can always reflect on what you can do better.
I had said to somebody this week, we have to go back to basics.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to what was working
for sure
from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. Right now, everybody's jumping off. A lot of coaches, a lot of companies saying, "I'll get you leads, I'll get you business, and I'll do this and do that for." But that's not basics. The basics are, Mondays we do this. Tuesdays we meet with the accountants. Wednesdays we try to meet with lawyers or attorneys. Thursdays we meet with financial advisors.
Right.
You got to have a plan.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't have a plan every day of doing something religiously and block out that 2 hour, 3 hours to do that, you won't succeed.
Totally.
You can't wing it right now.
Yeah.
The winging is done.
Yeah.
There is no winging, right? We used to wing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Let's do whatever. Right?
Most people do.
Most people still do.
I'd argue that most agents completely wing it.
All day, every day.
All day, every day. I'm guilty of it, right? I've been caught in that in multiple phases in my 7-year span,
Sure.
right?
Everybody has.
Yeah.
They just, whatever. That can't be done anymore.
No, I agree. It's, I had a coaching call 2 weeks ago with someone that I found on Twitter, big coach. He was in Toronto and, 20 years experience. And he told me, he's like, well, Dan, if you've been relying solely on referrals and kind of word of mouth to feed your business, that's great. But if you don't have an active system for lead generation right now,
prospecting,
then you're really just an agent that's chasing deals.
Yeah.
You don't have a business.
You're waiting for it to come to you.
Yeah. And I was
that's
like,
no longer a possibility. It's not just going to come to you.
No.
And that's a tough thing to swallow.
It is, it's, it takes a certain type of person, to really admit fault and criticize yourself to say like, dude, I'm messing up right now.
I always said, I used to say it back in the past when I had a bigger mortgage team too. It takes a certain person to take the shots that we take all day, right?
Yeah,
you just don't get into this business and say I can take shots. And no, it takes a certain person to endure that.
For sure.
Week in and week out and month in and month out and prospect and run into the problems that we run into and whatever.
Yeah.
Right? You just can't.
It's a lot.
You come in the business bright-eyed, like I'm ready to roll here, man. I see these guys killing it. I want to kill it too. Sure you do. We all do, right?
Absolutely.
But I think after a year of that or 6 months of that, then you really realize this is not, and what, they really see this as work.
Oh yeah.
And then it turns everybody off.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, too much of social media portrays a false image of what this business is.
Right.
It's all, everyone's a luxury agent now, right? Doing these walkthroughs and, you put a suit on or you pull up in a nice car. It's like all optics, right?
Yeah.
But that does not equate to what this business actually is.
I agree. You go into these real estate offices right now. Like I have loan officers just saying, why don't you just go to this real estate office and stop by there and drop off donuts to this other and drop. No. there's nobody in the office, number one. Okay.
First off, yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right. You go in there, you hear a pin drop, right? So who am I bringing donuts to? I'm going to wind up eating them myself in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to do that. Right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I don't want to,
Yeah.
I'm older now. I can't eat a whole box of donuts like I used to when I was 30 years old. Right. So I'm like, there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Right. Times have changed. You have to meet people where they are now.
Totally.
And where they are is at home, working from home, or on the road. If you want to have a coffee meeting with them somewhere, maybe you meet them somewhere. You on Zoom, at events, different happy hours and stuff like that, different educational events that they go to. If you want to meet somebody and you're trying to build your business now, it's no longer let's just stop at their office and drop off some food and get some deal. It's gone.
Yeah. Like you said, it's winging it.
You're winging it at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
And it's not going to happen.
No.
So you got in 2000 and what?
18.
18.
Yeah.
Right.
Early.
So you got in right into 18. So what would you say now, this market versus 18? Because you were a new guy then, you're no longer a new guy, right? So you've been through it. You went through the pandemic market. I'm sure you did good, right? 2-3% interest rates. Everybody was
it's
having
crazy.
fun, right? And then we got into it. So what do you think is the biggest challenges now from 2018 versus now for a newer agent that's getting in? Because I have a lot of newer agents that watch this show. They want to know from guys like you that are experienced, what now?
Yeah, for sure. I think what you said is key, right? Back to the basics.
Okay.
And, any new agent that's watching this, you have to come in, don't get so overwhelmed by, where do I need to hang my license and, business cards and all this marketing material. Like, you just need to figure out what method you're using for lead generation.
Okay.
Whether that's cold calling, door knocking, farming a neighborhood, right? If you live in Passyunk Square, East Passyunk, then, make that your neighborhood, right? Make that commitment early on.
Right.
But just be consistent with that. And even if it's just, all right, I'm going to talk to 5 people Monday to Friday every single day. And I'm going to, that's my target bare minimum. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that consistency,
25, 30 people a week, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like real conversations with, people about real estate, whether they're buying, selling, investing, that can just put you so far ahead of 99% of agents. Because again, most agents, they wake up and, they're like, well, I'm an entrepreneur. I can just create my own schedule and do whatever I want and wing it the entire day. When in actuality, again, if you're doing that, you're just an agent that's chasing deals.
Right.
You don't have a business. And again, I am guilty of that.
Sure.
Multiple times over. So
yeah.
Speaking from experience, but I think in 2018, when I got in, it was just an up and up and up market where, things were a lot more stable, but also like things were just good and normal. Right. So I didn't have a frame of reference at that time. Okay. But now it's like, okay, I've kind of seen some ugly phases, and now it's getting to a point where,
How about this? If you were a new agent right now, would you want to get in right now in this market? I know it was a tough one.
It's a tough question. And I don't want to dissuade anyone from getting in, because I think anyone can do well, right?
Sure.
It's not for everybody. For sure. I really do think you have to be a certain type of person to want to do this business. But the reason I got in, I knew that there was no ceiling on my income. And I thought that was so cool, right? To be able to create my, air quote, my own reality professionally. And to say that I could make whatever I want this year. It's obviously not so cut and dry like that,
right.
But
it used to be.
There's no cap on it.
Right.
So
you can make whatever you're going to make. You eat what you kill, right? So, I mean,
and that's exactly.
Which is really a rough way to say it, but it is the truth.
Yeah. It's the raw truth.
It is the raw truth. And I think that's tough to, I talk to agents every day. They're like, my office, we're losing agents left and right. They're getting out.
Yeah.
A lot.
1,000%.
Like I thought all those things on Facebook were like, oh, here we go. 89% of agents haven't done a deal last year. 62% have left this year. 47,000 haven't renewed their license. Like this is all these stats that I keep hearing and hearing and hearing. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all gloom and doom stats, right? I don't
Sure.
believe them. I'm like, yeah, but they do this stuff just to make more gloom and doom. But I think it's the truth.
Yeah. I mean,
A lot of it is the truth now.
it is.
They are getting out.
They are.
They are not doing deals.
Yeah.
They want out. You know,
It's crazy, and it's one thing to see the statistics and, the screenshots of articles on Facebook and stuff. And you're just like, okay, wow, that's like alarming. Right. But then
you see a lot of that, right?
You see a lot of it and you don't want to fall into it. But then when you actually have friends in the business that, you've known for a while,
right?
And, a lot of people are getting out, you're like, huh, okay.
A lot of people are telling me that the veterans are starting to fall back too a little bit. They're burned out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, some of your better agents who've been in it a long time have a book of business, or even loan officers, they're falling out.
Yeah.
Because they can't sustain this market. Is just a killer.
Yeah.
Like you got to work. And I mean work.
Yeah.
Right? And the success is not going to be at the end of the rainbow like it used to be. Like you may have do 2-3 weeks of work here for one deal that may not even go.
Yeah.
Which mentally kills you at the end of the month because you were banking on that paycheck.
For sure.
I mean, that's a killer.
It is.
So I think that you have to push through that. And I think as a new agent and a new loan officer, you should have some money put away before you get into the business right now.
Please do.
Savings,
because
right?
I didn't do that. I was very just gung-ho about getting into the business. And I survived off like just doing apartment rentals, right?
Right.
And you make, $400 or $500 per rental on average, which is decent. But like in real estate, everything's relative, right? Yeah. So like that's not very much to get you by. I didn't get my first sale until 6 months in. So that was my first actual sale.
6 months.
6 months.
So 6 months of no money making.
No real money, I would say. Yeah.
Just in rentals or whatever it may be.
Exactly. So, and mind you, a lot of people don't do a deal in their first 12 months. And that's kind of normal, which is, unfortunate. But these are the things that people need to know, especially if they're wanting to get into the business. It's a slow ramp up.
So you're doing a lot of stuff down the shore.
No. So Liberty Place, it's a Jersey Shore based brokerage, but we're the Philadelphia branch.
So you're not doing anything down there.
I'm only Philly.
You're staying in Philly.
Yeah.
Are you staying in the city or are you going outside of the city or what's your, I'm sure you have a zone.
I try to stay in the city, of where I'm at. So like Fishtown, East Kensington, West Kensington. Okay. No libs.
Right.
Would ideally like to keep my business around there, but I work the whole city.
Okay.
Yeah.
You still seeing things move over in Fishtown and Kensington, East Kensington?
I am. What I'm seeing is that like if the home shows really well and it's just a great property, like, it's well kept, even if the tax abatement's gone on it, like those still move and relatively quickly. Okay. What I'm seeing is though, the ones that have high days on market, they could be improved with, a couple updates here and there. And it kind of looks a little sloppy.
Is that the agent's fault for not coaching them?
I think absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Because if you're the listing agent on that property that, is sitting for a while, you need to reevaluate and you kind of have to huddle up with your sellers and say like, hey guys, this is the feedback we've been getting. And this is what I think we need to do to get this property sold.
Right.
It's not just put a listing up and then, you kick your feet up and you're waiting for someone to just bring an offer in. You can't do that anymore.
No, especially in Philly.
Yeah, especially in Philly. So,
I'm seeing a lot of listings in Philly sit. I had a buyer who just made an offer on a listing that was sitting for 200 days.
Wow. It's crazy.
200.
Yeah.
Okay. And he asked for a seller concession and they shot him down.
It's insane. And that's what I'm talking about.
I don't get why they would shoot him down on a seller concession. If it's been sitting for 200 days, you take any offer that you can get, and that's it.
And
it doesn't make sense to me. Like, let's make a deal here.
Totally.
Especially if you have a qualified buyer coming from a qualified mortgage guy who has them fully verified and approved. giving you basically the commitment letter saying we just need to get them under contract.
Yeah.
They would not negotiate.
Yeah. It's,
You know,
partially, of course, you may have a stubborn seller, but it's also
I think it's a listing agent too.
It's on the listing agent. They have to advise them, properly and say, hey, like we need to get back down to earth.
Yeah.
And kind of lower some expectations, because if it's like bird in hand, right? Like, you take the offer that you have, especially that many days on market, you're a little desperate, unfortunately, but you have to take something, so it's on both parties.
What about the multifamilies? You're seeing a lot of multi-units still moving over there, or, everybody comes to me, wants to be a house hacker.
Yeah.
Everybody's, watching HGTV. They
Of
want
course.
to do, I'm going to buy a 3 unit. I want to rent out the other 2 units. I want to get into the 1 unit. I want to put 3% down. And then I want to, make $10,000 a month and be able to work again. Right?
Yeah. It's, it doesn't work that way.
We know that.
Like not even a little bit.
We know that.
It's a great start.
Sure it is. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But you got to be realistic too.
Yeah. Don't get hyped up thinking, you can buy a triplex, live in the top unit, have the other 2 rented, and think that you're going to make $5,000 a month.
Those days are
those. I don't know. I haven't seen any properties like that.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But you would have to spend a decent amount to even
get
to that, in that ballpark.
Right.
So, the multis are starting to move again. Last weekend, I had a tour, toured 5 different apartment buildings.
Are there a lot of multis on the market in Philly?
There's a decent amount. Obviously, much less than just single family homes.
Okay.
And I think there is still a lot of appeal, right? Because I just feel like Philly is still such an untapped market in terms of, people understanding the affordability here. Right. This is way cheaper than Boston, obviously cheaper than New York, way cheaper than DC. Right. So you take all these,
So why, and listen, I'm not going to go to the question that everybody, I ask this question a lot and then I've gotten in trouble on the show because, people get mad at me then, but I try to ask why. What is the problem in Philly? Why are people not coming into the city? Why is everybody getting out of here? Why don't we have the flocks of people that were coming in before the pandemic? We obviously know the answers to some of these questions that I just asked.
For sure.
But why?
I think, and at my gym is super diverse. I go to the sporting club at the Bellevue downtown.
Yeah.
So
nice place.
Really nice, great gym. And there's a very diverse, just set of people that go there, a lot of different members. And the ones that have just come to Philly maybe a year or 2 ago, they all say like, I wasn't really feeling this city in the beginning, but like it really is growing on me.
Okay.
And I think Philly is a city that you have to kind of, surrender
we got a lot
to.
Of bad publicity here.
Yeah, obviously, you got crime, you got other things that could deter someone very easily, right? But I really do think you have to give it a fair shot.
Okay.
And, give it the time, right? Stay here for, I don't think a year's enough. I think you got to give it 2+ years and really immerse yourself in the culture. Cause I think Philly is a very unique city, very spirited people, right?
Oh, yeah, well, we know that.
Right. And it's unique. It's a great city. And I've been jaded by it in the past because I've paid attention so much to the local news. But I cut that out. And guess what? Like now, I have a newfound love for Philly. And I think everyone else can realize that, but you have to give it the time.
Yeah. I deal with a lot of mainline agents. They won't even come into the city if they have a bar where
Yeah.
they're just like, I'm sending it off to somebody else in my office and they'll go, I'm not going down there.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's a little bit crazy. I mean, listen, I get it. Right. I mean, sometimes you go into the bad sections but not all of them are bad sections.
Totally.
Right? There's some good sections in the city too.
Of course.
It's every city has that.
Of course.
Right. Chicago is not there's a lot of crime in Chicago.
Absolutely.
A lot of issues in New York.
Yeah.
Tons of issues in LA.
Miami.
Miami loaded with problems.
Yeah.
So anywhere you go.
You get it everywhere.
Right. I just think the publicity here hurts it. even
I agree.
more
I agree.
than what people know.
Yeah.
But we still got New Yorkers coming in.
We do. Absolutely.
They're coming in.
They're coming.
They love it.
When I'm driving around town, like the amount of New York license plates I see and just out of state license plates, I'm like, it's pretty cool,
So let's talk about your social media. So your social media, you're starting to get back into it, right?
Yeah.
You think that's a huge plus for an agent to use, or should they just use that as just like a kind of like a side thing for now and hit the streets instead?
So I'll take something from an online mentor of mine, right? He's not like an actual mentor, but I look at him as a mentor. Okay. Myron Golden. He's got, tons of great content. And what he says, because he teaches a lot about sales, is that you want to become more findable, right? So you want to create that content. You want to get people to get familiar with you and get comfortable with you, right? If you're just, let's say, for example, you're an agent, you have Instagram, Facebook, whatever, but you never post, right? But you're a realtor, and obviously your business thrives on making connections with people. But if you don't post at all and you're just kind of like in the shadows and no one knows what you do, how can you expect new people that find you on social media to have any sense of comfort reaching out to you?
I think a lot of these people are just shy.
That too. Yeah.
Right? I think that
the amount of people that are
like, you meet them one-on-one and they're nice, is a nice guy, right? Seems like he's personable, but then they're just shy when it comes to, and like even 3 or 4 people in a room, they won't speak.
Yeah.
Social media, forget about it.
Yeah.
But if you get them one-on-one, they're actually a nice person.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is.
And it is what it is.
I think a lot of people have fear of obviously public speaking, right? And just even putting your phone in front of your face and recording and just speaking your mind. Yeah. Like, that's not easy for most people to do.
I got it. I mean, listen, how many people I've asked to come on the show here and they won't do it. They won't do it.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And they're not mean about it. They're just like, no, I'm not really into that.
I don't do that.
Yeah, I'm not into that. Or I don't think I can do that. Or
but like, why?
Yeah, it's like, right. It's just your business.
Yeah.
Right. And we're talking about what we do every day.
Exactly.
Right? We're not talking about cars or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're talking about mortgages and real estate. So you can't. You got to get your face out there.
100%. And
especially now,
even if your content, because my content, I try to actually limit the real estate content. A lot of what I've been doing lately is just, my personal experiences. And I feel like when I share that, other people can resonate. And my whole thing is, if I can impact one person from it, my job's done, right? I find, purpose and passion in being able to impact others in a positive way.
Sure.
And if I can do that just by speaking, like, that's awesome to me. You know what I mean? So,
sure. I mean, you feel like you're actually going to get business from the social media that you do?
Potentially. And I have in the past. And, it's one of those things where like everyone's always watching, so even when you have people that always watch your stories, but never comment, no nothing, no likes, no engagement, nothing. All your posts, they never like it, but you'd be surprised at how many people are watching and are paying attention.
You don't even know it.
And you don't even know it. Like, right. my buddy at the gym, he's a little older, he's 45, but last year when I was training for my first marathon, when I did the Philly marathon, he was like, he stopped me 2 weeks ago. He's like, listen, man, I don't know, I'd never told you this, but like when you were training, that inspired the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Like you're just seeing your discipline. Cause I posted all my runs and what I'm doing and eating and stuff like that. And he's like, dude, like that made me want to like tighten up on my discipline.
Yeah.
But he didn't tell me that until months after. So imagine all the other people that are watching and maybe want to say something, but just don't have the courage to.
Yeah.
You are leaving an impact on somebody. But
I run into a lot of people who say I saw the show and I never knew that they saw it.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like, oh man, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you got good people. I'm like, I never saw a like from you.
Yeah.
Never saw a comment from you. I don't even see you in the views.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But how the hell did you see it?
Exactly.
But they saw it.
Yeah.
And they liked it.
100%.
So it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're right. You don't realize who's watching you. So I think if you're trying to get likes out there, trying to get comments, trying to get views, who cares?
Yeah.
Just do it anyway.
Just do it. Put yourself out.
Those videos will come back to you. And who knows, in a year or two from now, somebody sees those videos they like and they reach out to you.
Yeah.
That stuff comes back.
Yeah. And especially like what I'm doing, it's like, it's free. I'm charging my car.
Right.
I'm doing it while I'm charging. Right. So.
All right, so listen, tell us some high stress situations with clients right now, because it seems like every deal's high stress. Okay, so how do you, what do I do? I go outside and yell, and then I come back in, right? And then, I do all kinds of things. Like I'll blow up on, whatever. Well, let's not get into what I do. Let's get into what you do, right? So. It's a very high stress job right now, guys.
It is.
Right?
It is.
The clients are all a little bit high stress. I'm not going to call them names because I work with a lot of those clients, but everybody seems to be a little bit off right now, right? Mm-hmm. Things are tough, man. Like they're just not. People are just. I think it's because of the world and what's going on.
There's a lot going on,
and people are just losing their cool and stuff like that. How do you handle that? Day in and day out is a tough question I'm asked all the time, and I think I work out a lot. I take vitamins. I try to eat good and try to. I think a lot of that works. Mentally, because you
100%.
Like I said, you take shots every day.
Yeah,
and you don't know if that deal's going to go or not.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you think? How do you handle that situations with high stress clients right now? Because it seems like we're getting a lot more of that.
For sure. Going to the gym, I'm kind of like a health freak, right? So I'm in the gym every day.
Sure.
And it's not just I'm not lifting weights every day though. I do a lot of different things.
Sure.
So whether it's just shooting hoops or just going in the sauna,
something physical,
or just doing cardio, it's something physical, just moving your body and keeping your health a priority, regardless of how crazy business gets, never compromising that, I think is so huge because you need an outlet, right? Like you said, you're taking jabs. You're going to get so much to all the new agents out there, right? You're going to get so much rejection. It's not even funny. People cursing you out, people, looking at you and sizing you up and just, basically telling you you're nothing, right? You don't deserve my business, right? Like you're going to get a lot of that. And it takes a certain type of person to walk into that, knowing that and still wanting to do that.
Now, when you're an agent on a team, and obviously it gets into a competitive situation, right?
Yeah.
You might see other people on your team taking it better than you.
Mm-hmm.
They might be doing more numbers than you, right?
Yeah.
And loan officers, the same situation. And we go on teams, and there's a couple guys on the team that are doing a lot better. It seems like they're handling the stress a lot better. They feel like on the outside they're taking the shots better,
sure,
and they're moving better. How do you just stay away from that mess of getting yourself tangled up with the drama of other people? Like, are you looking at the numbers? Like, I know you come from a very successful team with Ryan, and in the beginning there in 18 and 19.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was very competitive too. Right?
Oh, yeah.
They looked at the numbers of who's doing what, who's doing more, and things like that.
For sure.
A lot of loan officers and agents are coached to go on a team because they feel that you should go on a team because it's better in the beginning because you can bounce off. But then sometimes it could be mentally trying.
For sure. And I'm a big advocate of being on a team, especially when you're brand new.
Right.
Don't try to reinvent the wheel. There are hundreds and thousands of people that have done this already, right? That have achieved the production goals that you want to achieve in this business. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, be a sponge, right? Join a big team, learn the business, latch on to, the veterans on the team and really just get exposed to it through osmosis, right? Just listen to what they're saying. How are they talking? How are they conducting showings? Like, latch on to these people, right? I think the further you get into the business, you do, kind of pick up that competitive edge of like, oh man, like, what's everyone doing volume wise, right? I want to know.
Yes.
And I think
there's a lot of that.
I think it's good because it can kind of put you in check. Like, oh, like I should be making more or I should be selling more. Right. Because, my peers are doing great and why can't I, So if you can at least, put yourself and surround yourself with the right people on these teams or just professionally, like, as you're going out and about, like it'll put you in a better space.
I believe that there's seasons of the business where you're doing really well, right?
Yeah.
You could be on fire when no one else is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been there.
Totally.
Right? Like I don't even know how I'm doing this myself. I'm getting all these deals out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
And everybody else is slow, right? And you don't want to be excited around them because you feel like I'm acting excited because I'm rocking and you guys are all doing nothing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right? So you're just playing it cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right? You're saying
even keel.
Right.
Yeah.
Even keel. Oh, yeah, I'm doing all right. Sure. Right. Meanwhile, you're crushing it. But you're riding the waves, but then that wave does go away and somebody else picks up that wave and then rides it.
Sure.
Right. So I think you can't just say to yourself, I'm going to be riding a wave 12 months out of the year, every year.
No, you can't.
That wave will go down and somebody else catches that wave and they ride it for 6 months. It doesn't mean they're better than you.
Yeah.
It just means they're on their wave.
Totally. I feel like sales is just such a good teacher of life because ups and downs, right? Like you're not going to be hot 12 months out of the year.
It's impossible.
It just doesn't work that way, right?
So unless the rates are 2%.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
then you're hot 12 months of the year, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's the only exception.
Right,
but,
exactly. Correct.
When you're in this business, you experience so many highs and lows, and it teaches you more about life rather than sales, in my opinion, right? Like how to just kind of stay balanced and, not get too high, not get too low, and, really, take everything for what it is and to reflect on every situation that you go through to make yourself better, If you're not able to do that, then it is going to feel like a roller coaster 24/7. And it kind of is, but like, at least when you know that, it feels a little more smooth.
Right. You got to just get that in your head mentally.
Yeah, for sure.
Basically.
Yeah.
Right. All right, so Vince, what are the goals for the rest of the year? What are we doing?
So, as I've rejoined Agent PHL, he's obviously more of a commercial broker.
Right. So which I was going to touch on. He's a big commercial guy now.
Yeah.
He was a residential guy when I was dealing
still
with
does
you
it.
guys. He still does it.
Yeah.
Right? But he's primarily commercial?
Yeah, primarily commercial, specifically multifamily, right? So selling apartment buildings.
Like 20 units and 30
20,
units,
30, 50,
units,
even more than that, right?
Right. So it's big.
It's big. Yeah. These are like real, legit commercial deals. And that's what I am now honing my focus on.
Okay.
And, stepping up to the plate, this is one thing I wanted to share. Like the first time around when I was with Ryan, he would ask me to step in on tours if he wasn't available.
Sure.
And a lot of times, I was kind of like, well, I'm not getting paid for this and I don't even represent that buyer that's showing up. And
right.
It's not even my listing. So I kind of felt like, well, why am I doing this? Right. And I always wanted some, monetary value for an activity, right? Like at least pay me for showing. This time around, it's been 5 years since I was on his team last. Now that I'm on his team, I'm stepping up to the plate.
You want to do it.
The first, minute he asks, I'm responding right away. And I don't get paid for that, but the experience is totally invaluable.
Right, the experience.
Because when I did it last week, I showed 5 different apartment buildings.
Yeah.
These are big buildings.
Right.
And I'm showing a very seasoned, experienced buyer that I wouldn't be doing otherwise on my own, right? At least not at this point in my career.
Yeah.
And now I can say, well, I do know what these types of buyers are looking for in these buildings. I know kind of how these should show well.
You might not be making money off of it, but you're gaining the experience of being on the street, dealing with people.
100%.
So that when you get it on your own, you know and tackle it.
Exactly.
Right?
And knowing how to show these buildings, it's not just a single family home.
Yeah.
So me being exposed to that, it's
huge.
It's the value over the cost,
right.
So what value am I getting from that? Tons, showing these buildings, walking with these investors.
Yeah. I mean,
it's great.
A lot of people got to think like that. The problem is everybody wants immediate money.
Yeah. They want it yesterday.
Everyone wants to be a millionaire tomorrow.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
It. You know what I mean? I'm in real estate. I should be making $1,000 a day.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
You're not making it. It's great, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right, listen, the last question I want to ask you, and it's the question on everybody's mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm being asked it a lot. Okay.
Yep.
AI.
Okay.
AI. Will AI take our jobs? Right. Right. So AI is the big question where, will it eliminate the real estate agent? Will it eliminate the loan officer from being in the transaction because these computer systems and the way that the technology is so fast right now that literally it's starting to take our jobs. We probably don't even know it.
Yeah.
And then big acquisitions like Rocket and Redfin acquisitions and all kinds of stuff going on there, which is another reason why they're trying to eliminate the loan officer and the realtor if they can, because they want to corner the market there on top of AI.
Totally.
Combining, could be a disaster.
Yeah.
What do you think about all of that?
It's very interesting. And what I think is that, unfortunately, I think they will take a big market share. Because in this business, just speaking candidly, there's a lot of consumers that are very transactional, right? They don't care who the agent is. They don't care who the loan
they
officer
don't care about
is.
A relationship at all.
That's just what it is, objectively, right?
That's the world we live in.
Yeah. And
they're just not into relationships.
Yeah. And they're just like, hey, listen, open the door. I don't care if a monkey opens the door.
Right.
Just get me in there.
Right.
Right. And just get the deal done for me, right?
They want it done quick.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be messed with.
Yeah. And then leave me alone.
They don't need any friends.
Don't follow up with me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Leave me alone.
No birthday cards.
Nothing. I don't even care if I ever see you again.
Exactly.
Have a nice life.
Exactly. And it sounds funny,
No,
but like these are real people in the market.
I get it.
But then you have a very large portion in the market that not only but they need that personal touch.
They want to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Sure.
I need to know, like I'm working with a client right now from Massachusetts.
Okay.
She's been living in Philly renting for like a year or so, but she is leaning on me to provide that expertise, that intimate Philadelphia knowledge.
You got to talk to her. You actually got to interact with her.
Absolutely. And she's, expecting to be able to depend on me for all my Philly knowledge in these past years.
Right.
And I'm happy to give that, and it feels good to be able to inform someone to my best ability.
So in that part of the market, we'll never get rid of that, right?
I think that's safe. I think that's safe. You're gonna have people that need that personal touch all throughout the way, right? From contract to close,
right?
But then again, there are going to be a lot of people that are fine with going through an AI process.
And what percentage of the business do you think that is?
I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of even, goes right down the middle, 50-50.
Really?
Yeah. I would not be surprised.
That hurts, man.
It does. And
that's probably the truth. I didn't want to hear that.
Yeah. No one does.
I don't think anybody wants to hear that.
Yeah.
But that's a huge,
That's a huge, And listen, I'm not here to sugarcoat.
No,
and
I don't want you to. That's why I
keep
brought
it real.
you on. I want you to tell us exactly what you're thinking. No doubt.
And I think if you're a new agent, again, don't let me discourage you from getting in.
How soon do you think that will be?
It's so hard to say.
I know.
Because things are just changing so quickly.
I know.
And
that's how scary it is.
That's all I'm saying.
How fast it's moving.
It's super fast. And the thing is, if you're a new agent, just be aware of this.
Yeah.
Right? You want to be fully aware of everything before you get in. And if you still want to get in, you can do great. You can do very well, be successful and do well for yourself. But know that these things are coming down the pipeline.
Right.
And
I think it's the newer generation, right?
Yeah,
For sure. It's the younger adults that are really not into the relationships like the older adults, right?
Yeah. That's true.
It's like a time, it's like an age gap there, right?
It is
40 and higher.
Yeah.
They still want to kind of deal with a person.
Yeah.
40 and under.
Right.
They don't want to talk to you at all.
Yeah. Get me the house. See
Done.
you later.
And I can tell when I talk to those people on the phone because they're very dry with me.
Oh yeah.
Extremely.
Yeah.
I'm not putting everybody down who's under 40. Don't get me wrong. I like you guys too. All right. That's fine. I still want to work with you.
Just a blanket.
But you don't have to talk to me. All right. It's fine. I still want to do the deal. But on the flip side, I can tell that it's a little bit more dry.
Yeah.
Like I'll crack a joke and it's like nothing.
Yeah. They're like, dude,
there's nobody there.
Just give me the pre-approval.
It's like, so what was the rate again?
That's real.
That is real.
Yeah.
That's what we're in. And those are the transactional people.
Totally. And again, like just being objective, that's what it is. You're going to get that in any industry, right? Any sales type of role.
Yeah.
Those people that just want the item, want the service, and they don't want anything else. Like don't bother me.
And I think the younger loan officers and realtors, they're very tight themselves on their personalities.
Sure.
Because they were brought up in this new world that we're in.
Yeah.
So they don't have the outgoing the way we're talking.
Yeah.
They're very tight too. So a lot of them might enjoy just working on a computer and doing, but then you become an order taker. And at that point you get paid probably a quarter of what you really are worth.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
Which is a sad truth.
It's true.
So. Hey man, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
This guy's the truth, right? This guy, you're probably going to hate this show, right? Because this guy just told the truth, right? You probably shut us off after the first 15 minutes.
If you made it this far,
if you made it this far, wow is right. All right. Because we just burst your bubble. You're probably heading to the liquor store right now. Saying, honey, I got to go out real quick. You're getting something hard. And then you're like, because Alex and Dan just really crushed the way I thought the world was going to run in the next 5 years. But whatever. That was the truth.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a new agent, you probably just quit your course and cancel your exam. But no, Again, I don't want to discourage anyone.
I think we told the truth, and I think this is what's really happening. But I think the one thing you just said before we go is that there's still always a lot of business out there to get.
Totally.
There's always enough to go around.
More than enough.
So
much that it can't be captured.
It can't be captured.
Yeah.
Right? You might think it's not out there, guys, but the business is still out there if you want it.
Yeah.
You just got to go and get it now.
Yeah.
It's not going to come to you.
That's all it is.
Yeah. So thanks, man.
Alex, thank you, man.
Thank you. All right. And guys, I'll talk to you next week. Thank you.